Hi, everyone. This is Dane DeCimino, and thanks for joining the Cyber PMM podcast, where I help you fight digital chaos with open source content, tools, and frameworks. So I don't know about you, but my LinkedIn feed personally is an absolute fire hose of AI innovations and just mass hysteria lately. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing, but I'm frankly drowning in it, and it feels impossible to keep up with all the new advice, the new products, the innovations being released, the LLM wars this week, all the market changes, just a lot of noise out there. And it's very hard to understand what is real, what should I pay attention to, how do I implement this into my job as a product marketer. So I'm on a mission. It's my main objective right now to make some sense of it, because I think that the signal and the noise here is that there is something that can be applied for product marketers that will change the game for us. I just wanted to start with a story of how I went down this rabbit hole. So it was a few weeks ago, maybe 3 now, where I first watched Jensen Huang's CES keynote. I was watching it, and this happens to me whenever I watch Jensen Huang's keynotes. I get very gripped by them because he actually shows these powerful advancements. He brings things on stage and he backs up his presentation with advancements that he demos and shows, and the concepts that he introduces have massive implications. So let's give a listen to Jensen's CES keynote real quick.
We now can understand images and words and sounds. To generative AI, we can generate images and text and sounds. And now, Agentic AI. AIs that can perceive, reason, plan, and act.
This topic is top of mind for many of us. The industry insiders that I speak to are all in this overwhelmed state where there's so much information to decode, because frankly, a lot of this has to do with this .com buzz, I call it. There's this relationship between the state we're in now with the introduction of AI being similar to the introduction of the internet back in the late 90s, early 2000s, before the .com bubble burst. Are we in an AI bubble? Perhaps. I think one could argue that, given all the investment happening and market changes. I mean, you saw earlier this week, NVIDIA's stock dropped by 20%, and the whole NASDAQ went down because of that. And this sector in particular has a ripple effect throughout everything else. So I think it's very important to look into it and get a grip on it. I'm going to do that by just putting on my analyst hat for this episode. I think it's important to level set on terms and definitions and figure out what's really going on. When I first started looking at NVIDIA and the CES keynote, the term agentic AI came up. For me, I felt way behind. I hadn't been looking at it much. And I think it was related to this graph where generative AI was this phase that we're in now, or we're transitioning into the phase or the era of agentic AI and soon to be robotic AI. And the concept is basically that these AI agents will perform tasks for us. And sure enough, last week, after I published the first article where I explored that, you'll see the article and the video in the podcast episode was related to, will AI agents replace PMMs, or when will they? Because it almost seems certain that there will be a lot of tasks that we perform will be outsourced to AI agents. So the question is, how do we construct those? Is there a future there? Is there a there? And I'm determined to figure that out. I really want to explore the tools that are available. And so I started searching and looking and following different areas on LinkedIn, from LangChain to Pinecone to Hugging Face, and all these new applications and developer tools. And a few that I came across in my search were very interesting to me. The first was Bolt. There's a website, you have to go visit it. And they haven't paid me a dime to say this. Go visit bolt.new. If you're somebody like me that's always wanted to build your own app, but you've been limited by first of all, I didn't have a computer science degree. I don't know how to code. So it's always felt out of reach for me. I'm not going to go pay someone $100,000 to build an app that I'm not even sure is going to work. Now, with this tool, Bolt, you can actually code an app or build an app using natural language commands. So you can say, create an app that plays basketball between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and just have them go back and forth on the screen, stuff like that. I mean, that was just a really weird example, but come up with your version of that and go to Bolt and just type it in. I had mine and I was running that for about 20 minutes and I had an actual interface that had the app that I was envisioning for the past 15 years. I've always had this app idea and I went in there and I did it. It's amazing, right? So this technology is super powerful. I think Bolt just got a 15 million funding, 120 million total now. So of course they tried to upsell me from the free version and they gave me a limited amount of tokens. So before I paid them, I just cut myself off because I wanted to continue researching. So then I went over to bubble.io, which is another developer tool. And I'm in Bubble and I'm also building an app, and it's a more sophisticated version of an app interface where you can drag and drop and actually build these modules. So there I was, all of a sudden now I'm a developer, and I went from product marketer to developer within like an hour. And so that's one of the reasons there's this flood, this flurry of excitement and buzz in the market coming from Silicon Valley, among many other places, because there's this fusion now of finance, and similar to the dot-com era, right? You have the finance people merging with the inventors again, and there's all these launches and different technologies, because think about it. I can prove that concept out of a new app and look for funding or fund it myself and start to promote it and go on LinkedIn and start shouting through the rooftops about how great this app is and how it'll save you time. And so basically any task you can think of in the digital world is now being outsourced to agents, and agents are being underpinned by these LLMs that are fueling agent developer style apps. So I looked at that ecosystem and looked at all the different tools. I created accounts. I think by the time it was all said and done, I researched about 30 plus different AI vendors, and I created about 25 different accounts. As I was in each of those accounts, I pulled on the thread a little more in different ones, but some of them were obviously not in my world or would ever be useful to me, because they're really built for specific use cases. Like you think about enterprises today, you have these, I'm just going to pick a random example, like say Hertz car rentals. They have all this data from decades of doing business and all these documents, and maybe they don't want to siphon that out to ChatGPT. And so they have these parameters and privacy concerns. And so instead of bringing that data out to the analytics and throwing it out into the ether, there are in-house developer teams in all of these enterprises building their own agents. And I think Jensen Huang originally called this the AI factory model, where larger enterprises are building their own data centers that are pretty much becoming AI factories built on NVIDIA chips. And that's why NVIDIA's stock has been through the roof, right? So if you look at this model of in-house software developers, they're using advanced tools to create those agents and store the data. And a few of those that come to mind are Pinecone, I think, is a data tool for AI agents. And there's many others, Leta AI. And then there's all these frameworks, and there's LLM versions that you if you go to Hugging Face, there's like 1.3 million different models that are listed there. So that's why you see all of this crazy amount of information hogging your feed if you're following the right people. I've been incrementally adding different technology companies and experts in the field to people I follow, and it's just been amazing to see every hour. This week in particular, because we had the DeepSeek situation, we had the Alibaba LLM come out, we had the NVIDIA stock shock, we had all this movement around the industry, all related to AI. And then on the side, there were all these other launches and apps being released at a record pace, because you have to remember, development cycles are now moving exponentially faster. So we're looking at launch cycles that are happening. Look at what ChatGPT did. Last week, they launched Operator. And it was funny because in my post last week, I said, imagine a world where product marketers become AI operators, essentially. And as operators, we're controlling a team of agents. And I think Crew AI builds on this concept. And you can build agentic systems that are running all of your operations now. And so And this phenomenon is really interesting because the development cycles are so fast because you have developers that are able to code using AI. So they're just putting in a natural language command like I did with Bolt, and they're pumping out products at, record pace. So there's never been a time like this. And we're living in the most interesting time for technology ever, in my opinion. Now, you could say the inception of it, the introduction of the computer and things like that were probably equally as interesting to people in that time. But for us with AI, I mean, it is amazing to see. And the other thing I keep in mind, somebody that has marketed SOAR technologies in the cybersecurity space, so that's security orchestration, automation, and response. Back in 2016, I was pitching SOAR as part of a service with Optiv, had a partnership with a company called Phantom Cyber. Some of you might remember Phantom Cyber. They were later acquired by Splunk, who I now work for. And so SOAR has always been a part of my orbit from company to company. But the thing I've learned after nearly 10 years in the market is that SOAR markets very well. It's easy to message, automate tasks and repetitive tasks, and reduce the amount of manual workflows and automate more. It's marketable technology because it's easy to understand. When you get to the implementation phase of SOAR, there's always the question of, well, how do we implement this? Because we actually still need somebody that understands how automation works and how APIs work and how you plug those technologies into each other and make sure that what you're automating doesn't shut the CEO's laptop down or shut the website down. It's a very complex field, and you need experts in automation, which aren't cheap, and they're usually stretched very thin. Ironically, you need humans to make automation work. And the same thing is happening with AI. Yes, it's making us more productive, but you still need somebody to connect together all of these different technologies using automation tools like Zapier or Make. And these integration and automation technologies are similar to SOAR in the sense that you don't just turn on a switch for Zapier and then everything is automated. All right, so that's about it. I'm going to keep testing. I'm going to keep breaking things and figuring out which AI tools actually matter for product marketers. I do want to hear from you. I want to know what tools you're using, what's overwhelming, what's blowing your mind. Please drop a comment below on Substack, go on LinkedIn, chat with me there, and let's crack this AI code together. And don't forget to subscribe, like, or add a comment.